Hello and welcome back to Justin Talks Villa for the Christmas special. Woo! I've even got my jumper on, look. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. So, as you will see, different surroundings. We have a electrical issue in the bar, so I've had to move to here tonight. But we've got the Christmas surroundings on. And I'm going to straight away bring on my special guest because he doesn't deserve to be sitting in the background. And we'll bring him on and we'll have a chat with him. It is the greatest Villa's captain of all time, Sir Dennis Mortimer. Hey! All right, Dad.
Good morning, everyone.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm alive and kicking.
That's always good to know, Dennis. Going into
the Christmas festive sort of season. Yeah, it really gets to you, doesn't it? To be honest.
Yeah, you didn't get the.
You got your hat.
I've still got the ruddy price tag on it.
Oh,
you didn't get the memo about your hat. Yeah, come on, Den. Where's your hat? Right.
You know, I've never been one for dressing up, mate.
No, apart from a Villa kit, but you look good in a Villa kit, so we'll let
yeah,
you
oh
off.
yeah. Well, yeah, but that wasn't dressing up.
No,
that was going to work.
That was,
you know?
Of course, it was work. Yeah, it's work for you, wasn't
but
it?
you're working now anyway, so
yes.
So you're dressing up.
I'm dressing up for my work. Yeah. Right, we're going to talk to some people in a bit. Hopefully, they'll be phoning up. We have had, as I say, technical issues, so we're going to try and do it the same way we've done it the last couple of weeks. People can phone in and I'll just have it and people can hear through the mic. Hopefully that'll work. But we're going to have a quick chat with Dennis about the season, obviously, and how we're going on. 10 wins in a row, Dennis. 11 is the record, twice that we did. Once in 1897, which was even before your time, and 1914 was the last time. So if we manage to beat Chelsea, we will equal the record of over 110 years. How incredible is that run?
Well, it's outstanding. You know, I mean, it's the start of the season, there were many Villa fans were worried. You know, 4 games in and not many points on the total board. But then all of a sudden they sorted themselves out and they started winning games. And it was always going to happen. They were too good a team, to be staying down there for any length of time. And they just needed to tweak 1 or 2 things, and it started to roll for them. And since then, it's been plain sailing, really, because they've come from behind, they've been in the lead, and they've been pegged back, but they seem to be able to muster up a little bbit more and go for the win. And it's been a great, I wouldn't say revival, but it's been the last 8-9 games have been absolutely tremendous for the club and for the fans. I mean, the fans must be loving it.
Oh, we are, Dennis. We are. Now, I've got this interesting table to show you, if you can see it. I'll take the little Christmas things off. This is the Premier League table this calendar year, from the 1st of Jan 2025 to up till today. And this is 35 games long. Arsenal have played 36. A few played 36, but generally it's 36 or 35. And Villa, over the calendar year, are currently 3rd, 70 points, only 4 points off Arsenal and Man City. Now, given the new narrative is that we've been lucky and we can't sustain it, I think this table really tells the story that we can sustain it, because this is practically a full season. So do you think we can sustain it?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't say they've been lucky. I'd say they've been on the game. I think they've been they've sorted themselves out. They've got some key players who are starting to perform. Those key players now are scoring goals. And, as far as the form's concerned, I mean, they deserve to be where they are. 3 points, over the Christmas period now. You've got Chelsea and then you've got Arsenal. The other teams, Chelsea, Arsenal and Man City now will be thinking to themselves, we've got to keep winning.
Yeah.
Because if we don't keep on winning, then there's going to be another team who's going to overtake us. And that team is Aston Villa. And, you know, the position Villa are in now is really one of that. I remember, you know, when we won it in 80-81, we were 2 or 3 places behind, you know, the top 2 or 3. But then we kept on biting away and snipping away, and we kept on staying in there. And then eventually we took the top and we went top. And this is the way I see Villa at the moment, is that they're in a great position. I think everyone at the start of the season, once 4 games had gone, was saying Arsenal and Liverpool are going to win the league, one of them.
Yeah.
Man City was struggling a little bit. But now you've really got to take, you know, I think people will start to be thinking, well, Aston Villa, this is no fluke, Justin. This is no fluke. This is honest, good football. And a team that are playing for one another and are making things happen. And, you know, Arsenal and Man City and Liverpool and Newcastle and everybody else, they're all going to be thinking, well, you know, if Villa can do it, why can't we do it? But you've got to have something special then. And at the moment, that special ingredient is Morgan Rogers, who is scoring goals for fun. Because the goals he's scoring aren't simple things. They're actually a bit special. And the guy now, you know, he's getting to that position where, is he leading goal scorer now? He must be pretty close.
I've got this table, actually. This is the Premier League. Let me get that one off. This is the Premier League top goal scorers, right? So you got Haaland. I need to take that banner off because it's in the way. So you got Haaland, 19 goals, 4 assists. Thiago at Brentford, 11 goals, no assists. Semenyo, 8 and 3. Ekitike, 8 and 1. Rodgers is now 5th on the list of the Premier. This is all the Premier League players with 7 goals and 3 assists. So he's only, you know, 2 or 3 goals off the second top scorer in the league now. So the form is incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. But you see, when was the last time Villa had a player in that position?
Well, Ollie Watkins has sort of been in and around, hasn't he? But obviously he's struggling this season. But the last couple of seasons,
his goal scoring is poor this season. You know, he's not converting enough. You know, and Morgan Rogers, you could probably say sometimes along the line that Morgan Rogers is getting a lot more space than Ollie Watkins does. Because of the way he plays. And,
would you think
he's got a
would you think that Ollie Watkins' all-round game of creating space and running through the channels has given players like Rodgers more space to run into and allowing them to sort of get into better positions because of Watkins' running ability? Because he is staying in the start despite the injury.
Yeah, you could say that because you see, by the way Ollie plays, he likes the ball over the top. And so defenders are always a bit wary of leaving too much space behind. Now, when a ball does get played over the top, and in a lot of games, you get the goalkeeper, Martinez, he does like a long ball occasionally.
Yeah, they do definitely
not just a little tippy-tappy around the 18-yard area, but he sometimes goes for that long ball. And I'm quite surprised that the opponents actually give him that opportunity to do that because he's got one hell of a kick. And the thing is that they're not expecting him to do it, the opposition. And he puts a ball in, and it's usually quite an accurate ball, you know. And he's got good pace and height on the ball, and that's when Ollie now sort of comes into his game when he starts to stretch the team. What happens then is that defenders are always chasing back. Now, what they might do is that they might get a header on it, which now drops down to maybe another Villa player. So what you're picking up is the seconds, yeah. But Ollie Watkins has done his job now in creating that opportunity to stretch the game. Because I go back to the early season, Justin, where I found Villa were playing too often in the opponent's half, and this is what I was seeing. I was seeing 21 players in the opponent's half. In other words, all the Villa players, except the goalkeeper, were actually in the opponent's half. Now, the opponents then were on the edge of the box. So what you've got now is a concertina, which is really flat. It's closed. Now, what you needed to do was open it up. that concertina, so that you had more space. Because in those early games, Morgan Rogers was struggling to get on the ball.
Yeah.
And when he was getting on the ball, he was closed down very quickly, and he was being hounded by the other team, and he was losing it. So he wasn't getting into the flow of things. But as soon as they started to, and obviously they realized we ain't getting the main players in the game. What they did then, he started to stretch it a bit more. And by doing that, what you gave was the space that people like Morgan Rogers needed. And he was now coming into the game, and he was starting to play the game that we all knew that he was capable of. And that's the way I saw it. Was that early on, it was Villa had too much of the ball in the opponent's half, but when all the team were in the opponent's half as well, so there's no space. So by stretching it now gave them that ability. And this is where Ollie comes in, is because defenders are always worried about the ball over the top. So they're not expecting now, someone like Martinez, to put a ball. I mean, look at the goals they scored this season where one ball has caught out the opposition. Quite a lot. But that means because of stretching. And the people who are causing the problem sometimes are people like Matty Cash. He pushes up on the right-hand side, a diagonal ball into him now, and all of a sudden, there's big gaps occur. And this is where, as I say, the likes of, and even Buendia, when Buendia comes on, that's the role he likes to do as well. He likes to be in that same role as what Morgan Rogers is doing. He likes to pick a ball up, and his instinct is to run at players as quickly as he can with the ball, and try to gain an advantage quickly before the defenders could actually sort of recover. When I say defenders, I mean midfield players, who have been bypassed with the ball, and now Buendia or Morgan Rogers are on that ball. And this is the way Villa are playing at the moment, where they're catching teams out in that, what I would say, that just inside the opponent's half now, between the sort of the edge of the centre circle and the edge of the box. Aston Villa now is starting to find a little more room to get Morgan Rogers in the game. And listen, I mean, I'm talking about Morgan Rogers a lot, but it's not just him. Just the other players are realizing that this is the way we're going to beat a team, by making these things happen. So, that's all done on the training ground. And so, they're practicing, and they're making it right, and they're finding, and they're getting a lot of joy from it, which is great, because there's going to be times when you're going to come up against it. But Villa have been up against it a few times this season, but they've been able to gather themselves together and really start to think about, well, how are we going to turn this game round and win it? And they've done it on quite a few occasions, and they've come out as victors. And where they are now is no fluke. That's no fluke. No. They're one of the best teams in the league at the moment on their day.
No, 100%. I think, it's almost like you know what you're talking about, Dennis. It's quite scary, isn't it, really?
No, I don't.
But you're right, maybe winning one game is lucky, but winning 10 in a row in the Premier League, but every single game is so difficult.
No, that's not luck.
It's quality.
No, that's not luck.
Again, you make some amazing points at the start of the season. We was struggling so hard with that low block, and we were pressing up onto the halfway line, which then, like you say, squeezes the whole of their team into almost a 4-4, which is basically two banks which are just sat at the edge of the box. We couldn't break them down. Now what we're doing more, which is what we did a lot under Unai when he first came in, was keeping the ball in our penalty box, drawing the team out, stretching their team a lot. And then, like you say, we've added this extra sort of angle to our game where we now can go long. Emi's not afraid to just lump the big one over the top. And like you say, winning the second balls. Ollie isn't the best always. He's not a Peter With of your days, where he'd win a lot of flick-ons.
No. He's not that. He's not. There's not many players around who fit into that mold of a Peter With or a Joe Jordan or a, the centre forwards of the day. Andy Lockhead. Going back in time. It's Keith Leonard. These were real out and out centre forwards who like the battle in the air. But the game's not played that way now. It's as you can see from the formations that teams play. It's all about trying to keep the ball as much as you can on the floor. The ball in the air is anybody's ball, and the ball now bouncing from a challenge is anybody's ball. So if you try to cut out what you might say the chance things, but you still got to do that to enable the game to get stretched, but understand why you're doing it. Yeah. And see, we knew exactly what we were doing with Peter With and Gary Shaw. Yeah. It was just something that was so intrinsic around the team. And so if Kenny Swain picked the ball up at right back and there was nothing on to play in midfield, he had the ability to knock a ball into Peter With. And then from there, we had a plan. And that plan involved Gary Shaw, involved me, it involved Des Bremner, it involved Tony Morley, so we were, and Gordon Carr. So what we had to be then, we had to win the next ball. So from Peter With's challenge, if it was a clean one for him and he would knock it down, he'd knock it down to Gary Shaw, then we would work off Gary Shaw then, you see. So it enabled me and Des to get forward in particular without causing too many problems, but we had the players with the capability of keeping the game going, and especially from the point of passing. Gordon, one of the best passers of the ball in the game, and so having someone like that in the team was always good for me and Des, because we could see him on the ball left or right. I mean, we never had to worry about Gordon having to shift the ball from his left foot to his right foot, or vice versa. He just had that ability. And we knew he had that comfortable, we knew he was comfortable on both sides. So that gave us the encouragement to do what we did. It's worse when you're trying to do something and it keeps breaking down, because then sometimes you look a bad player because the work you're doing to try to get the ball, it doesn't happen. And what happens then is that, you sort of end up just chasing the game in a way, and you get a bit frustrated. But the way you look at the way Villa are playing at the moment, there doesn't seem to be any frustration occurring in the game. This is a very good season developing here now, and I would honestly say that Arsenal and Man City will be concerned about what Villa are doing at the moment. And Man City, they're starting to get their mojo back. Yeah. They're starting to score goals. They're starting to play like they always play. So they're definitely. But there's a thing about Man City that I think we sometimes forget, but it's always going to be there. Is that if eventually the Premier League decide to do something about Man City, they could lose points.
30 or 40.
And if they do, if it's just points to lose, they're going to lose quite a few points.
They'll be.
And that's going to put them out of the picture. You know what I mean? And then the other one is Chelsea, who are chasing. They're another team who could lose points, right? But as we know, these clubs are very good at sort of changing the narrative.
Cheating, Dennis. That's the word you're looking for.
And changing the narrative so that the FA then have to go back and rethink it. So, but by that time now the season's over, and they've won something. But those Man City and Chelsea, who are close contenders with Villa, they could be easily out of the picture. And we all know about Arsenal and their frailties at times. And they have got frailties. And they got away with it against Everton at the weekend.
They did.
But they're not as. The way I look at it at the moment, I think Villa, watching the games, watching all the teams, Aston Villa, I think, looked the most cohesive and confident of playing, a little bit like Man City. Because Man City always look very confident in the way they play and the system they play. But Aston Villa are coming up there, and that's for for everybody, the fans and the players. This is now, turning into a season where you've got halfway through now, and we're coming up to Christmas and the New Year. European position is obviously they won't have to play a playoff game because they're going to be finishing the top, if not the top, by the end of the league. So they're not going to have to worry about playing in January. So their next game in Europe is going to be February. You got the FA Cup starting then as well. So, you know, all of a sudden, you get this, if they keep on a roll, you know, there's a lot of games coming up. The next thing that's going to be, and I think the next contentious thing that's going to happen is obviously the transfer window.
Yes, right.
Because the last transfer was an absolute joke.
We're going to get on to that. Right. We're going to start getting some calls on. Welcome to the Dennis Mortimer show. So, right. I'm going to put the number on now. So if you want to call up and have a chat with Dennis, ask him anything you want about the season, his career at Villa, anything you want. Right. We've got straight in with a. Right. Hopefully this will work. Steve, hello.
Hello, Justin.
Dennis, can you hear Steve?
Hello.
I can hear you.
Can you hear Steve? Dennis.
Not so well.
Go on, Steve. Say.
Hello, Dennis.
Hello, Steve.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you now, Dennis.
Okay. Have you got something you'd
I
like
can hear
to
you now. Go on, keep going.
Yes, I have. Yes. Okay, Dennis. So, what inspiration did you take from being a captain? Like any past captains that inspired you? Did you read any books from leaders? And how did you inspire your team on the pitch and in the dressing room?
Did you get that, Den?
Sort of. Yeah.
He said, what inspirations did you have from other people, old captains, or did you read any books to give you inspiration? And how did you inspire the team as captain?
Well, I didn't read any books about captains. Yeah. I suppose the captains that I'd observed as a kid was obviously supporting Liverpool at the time when I was a kid. Ronnie Yates, who was the captain then, and he played at the back. So a lot of captains in those days were defenders. So I suppose looking at him, you know, the way it came about with Liverpool and when he started winning under Shankly, you know, he was obviously an inspiration from the point of view of understanding what a captain was all about, and that was about giving 100%, you know, and putting yourself on the line every game to make sure that the opposition knew you were there. And obviously, Ron, in the position he was in, playing centre half, it was a tough game in those days, you know. So I suppose subconsciously, I'd probably have to sort of say, well, he was probably the first person as a captain who probably gave me that feeling of that. Well, to be a captain, you've also got to be something little bit different. Now, I was captain of my school team simply because I was probably a little bit different from the point of view of the way I played, and it's probably down to the fact that, you know, I was just mad. Football was football for me, and I never stopped playing football. So maybe that early days was about being ambitious. But whatever kind of game I played in, you know, I always wanted to win. And but when you start playing for a professional team and everything, there's so many captains around you. There's so many people who you think to yourself, well, you know, I'm never going to. Well, I never even thought about becoming captain at Villa. It was never anything on my radar. The same, you know,
were you captain of Coventry before you came?
No, nowhere near it. Yeah, because the captains we had there was like Ron Barry, was and he was a centre half, you know, and you know, so our centre halves were mainly defenders, not midfield player. Oh, Ernie Machin played midfield. He was captain as well, but he was a typical captain as well, because he sort of led by the way he played, you know, all action, you know, getting stuck in and making things happen for the team and driving them on. So, you know, Ernie Machin was another one of those midfield drivers. But I never looked at being. I never thought I'd ever be captain of Aston Villa, as the saying goes for Coventry, because I never thought midfield players were the guys who got those roles. But when you think about it, it's the best role to have for a captain, because you link with the front men and you link with the back men.
And you're in the middle of the pitch as well, aren't you?
Yeah, well, that's what it is. You're in the middle of the action, so you're good. But I suppose sometimes, I look at Steve Perryman, and I was same age as Steve, and we played for England schoolboys, not schoolboys, England youth together. And he was one of the players I played against an awful lot. Obviously, when it was at Coventry for Spurs. Now he was a totally different player to me, from the point of view of the way he played. He was that type of, and he was also captain of the team when he was so young as well. But he was all over the place. He was biting at you. He was winning things. He was going up front. He was that real effervescent captain who was everywhere. But I didn't see myself as being someone like that. I sort of, my role was slightly different the way I saw it, and it wasn't being this hard tackling, put your foot in and win the ball back and get up and get dirty shorts and everything. That wasn't me. Yeah, I was more of a player that wanted to win the ball by standing up. In other words, by getting in front of players when the ball was passed, nicking it away from them, and then bombing forward. And this role, I don't know how I developed it. I really don't. I can be honest with everybody. I don't know why my role developed, because no one ever told me how to play the game. No coach said to me, "You play this way, you play that way." No one ever told me how to do it. I sort of developed into this player really through my own instincts, because of my ability of what I was good at. Because I think probably one of the reasons why I didn't get to play for England at the top level was because I didn't get my foot in. I didn't stick my foot in. I was more of a what you might call a clean player who wanted to win the ball standing up instead of being on the backside.
How would that be a negative, Dennis? Why would that be a negative?
Because my role, I think, because the way I look at it, you see, you had, like, when I was playing, you had people like Brian Robson. And his role was like Superman, and he was everywhere and everywhere. But I think, there's people like Tony Curry, Alan Hudson, and we were all different players. But I just thought my role, I needed other players to make my role work well. And if you look at some of the goals I scored for Villa, and getting forward, and forward role, I needed players like Gordon Cowans to be able to put balls in for me. Yeah. When I've made a run. And, because sometimes I'd make the run and it wouldn't happen. But that was my role. I wasn't one of those players that sat in the midfield and just tried to orchestrate the win or orchestrate the team. I was about trying to get ahead of the front men, and get beyond them and stuff like that. And, that role, you needed a lot of energy for that, because if it didn't come to you, you had to get back. But I was relying on the play. Now, it could have been possible that when England played, they didn't want to play this kind of game. Yeah, they didn't want to play the sort of hit the front man, get it back, and then I'd be bombing on. Yeah, and trying to get beyond the defenders, because maybe they thought that was too I don't know. It didn't always work. It didn't pan out. So you'd lose the ball, and then I'd be out of position, and all of a sudden we're all over the place. So my game was developed through my own understanding of what I thought I was good at. Being a captain, I never had this feeling that I could become a captain of Aston Villa, because when I joined the club, it was Chris Nicholl.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't remember, when I was made captain, Leighton Phillips actually had taken over from Chris. And the start of pre-season of that season, I think it was 77, 78, he got injured. Leighton. So he missed the start of the season. So I was given the role of captain. And I wasn't taken into the manager's office, you know, and have a chat with him, and they say to me, "Well, I'm going to make you captain, and this is what I want you to do." And I got made captain on the game and said, "Take him out." That was Ron. Right. Yeah. So I had no inkling that I was.
Was it?
Pardon?
Who's in the dressing room? You'll do, Dennis. You have it. Was it like that?
What? You know, Ron. I mean, we were all sitting there just before the game, five minutes to go, and Ron's obviously done his little bit, and then we're going out, and we had no idea who the captain was going to be. And then he just said to me, "Take him out." And that was it. Yeah. That's what I remember. Yeah. So, you know, the way I got it wasn't like sitting down with a committee and say, "Well, let's have a look at who we could put as captain. You know, let's do this." But I don't know whether I've told you the story about. I remember when Ron passed away and we went to his funeral. Yeah. And most of the guys were there. And remember going to the afterwards going to the wake, yeah, in somewhere in Hampden and Arden. Anyway, I remember talking to Alan Bennett, who was the ex-secretary at the football club. Now, Alan Bennett was the secretary when I joined, and I met Alan obviously on that first day because he was the one with the contract and everything. And I remember him talking to him, and we chatting away, and then he said. He said, when I signed, this is Alan. He said, when Ron signed me, Alan asked Ron, "Why are you buying Dennis Mortimer?"
Really?
That was the question. And the person who told me this was Alan. This was Alan Bennett who told me this on that day. He'd never said this to me before, and it was quite interesting. He said, so Alan had asked the manager, "Why are you buying Dennis Mortimer?" And Ron, you know, he's always deadpan. He probably was with Alan. He just said, "He'll be my captain one day."
Really?
And Alan told me that story. Yeah.
Wow.
So, you know, Ron already had
a
vision.
Yeah.
He had a vision for me. And I think it probably came a lot quicker than he expected it. But then he put a lot of faith in me. But why did he put that faith in me? And I could only think it was because he realized that, well, one way I can be a benefit to this team and as a captain is try to be inspirational. So in other words, what you do, will hopefully reflect back on the other players, and they'll try to put the same kind of effort in, realizing now that the captain's doing his job, so we need to do our job. And basically, I'd have to say that was what my feeling of becoming a captain was all about, was trying to be as inspirational as possible, you know, and try to galvanize the rest of the players in a way to follow suit. And I suppose you need a good set of players to do that as well.
Yeah.
Players who then are aware of roles of one another and what we can all do for one another and how we can make this into a very good football team, you know. And so the captaincy, to me, there was no great thought behind it, none at all. You know, I mean, Ron said take him out, so I wasn't going to turn around and say, "Ron, I don't want to take him out." You know, I'll take him out. Give me the ball and I'll take him out. Because the interesting thing was, you know, and a lot of people probably won't realize this, but I always came out last.
What, as captain?
I always came out. No. When I wasn't captain.
Before you was made captain, right? Okay, got you.
Yeah. So now I'm going out first. So I thought to myself, well, I've lost my position in the queue, you know, to get on the pitch.
Not a bad way to come out. Is it coming out first instead of last, mate? Right, I'm going to ask Steve, because he's been hanging on. That's the longest answer to his question I think he's ever had in his life. Have you got another? I dare and ask this question, Steve. Have you got another question for Dennis before you go?
I've learned, you know.
He hasn't fallen asleep, has he?
He knows how to talk. That's one thing. I knew when I invited him on, I wouldn't have to do much talking tonight. So it's been absolutely great for me. To be honest, I'm sitting here listening to him talking, and I keep forgetting. I've got to ask him a question. I've got to keep this rolling along. I absolutely love listening to him. Go on, Steve. Have you got anything else you want to ask him?
Yes, mate. Okay, Dennis. I want to know your expectations for Villa from now on, because my expectations are that Emery will guide us to a top 4 place in any position, 1, 2, 3, or 4. But the players will want that shiny medal around their necks to show their grandkids. So I think Emery is going to have his best ever season by finishing the top 4 position and the Europa League. So what are your expectations from here on in?
Did you get that, Den?
I got that. Yeah, I mean, you see, at the start of the season, I said that Villa, are going to win the Europa League, and they're going to reason because the way that league, it's like the Premiership playing against the Championship, and I've not seen a team that Villa have played yet that really has been good enough to sort of say, well, this is going to be tough for Villa. Now, here's a thing that this is what I've been thinking about. I've been thinking that Aston Villa are going to play Nottingham Forest in the final. What a final that would be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the reason I say that is because the last time these two played in the final of a European trophy was Forest won the European Cup and we won the European Cup. So what a final that would be now if you got, just like last season when we had Tottenham and Man United in the final. I don't see any reason why it can't be Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa. And what a final that would be then, because two great clubs, coming together to play for the European trophy. But my money would be on Villa. Yeah. But you can't discount if Forest got there, that at the end of the season, everyone's firing on all cylinders. But I would definitely say the Europa is well within reach. And I haven't seen this first part of the Europa League. I really don't see, and I've seen other teams play, and I no one's got the same kind of ability as what Villa have got. I really think that they've got outstanding players, but I don't see that with other teams. So I see that, but finishing 4th, to me at the moment, as I said earlier on, if Man City get points deducted and Arsenal bottle it again, with the run Aston Villa are on at the moment, who's to say that they can't win the trophy?
So what you're saying, Dennis, is we're going to do the double. That's what you're saying.
Well, the other thing as well is that you forget the FA Cup.
Are we doing the treble? Right, we're doing the treble.
Well,
then.
There you go. Listen, I had treble.
First. We're doing the treble, mate.
In 1976-77, when we won the league, the League Cup. That was we had that opportunity, to win all 3 trophies, but because of the length of our season and the fact that in January and February we hardly played any games because of the weather. Now you don't get that now.
Dennis,
so you end up now.
That's really interesting. You've said that, right? Steve, thanks ever so much for calling. I don't want to keep you hanging on. I'm going to show Dennis this thing, but I appreciate you calling, mate. Thanks ever so much.
No problem. Bye.
Do you want to say bye to Den, or do you want to ask him anything?
Bye,
else?
Steve. Bye, Steve.
Okay. No, I'll let somebody else have a say now.
All right,
Thanks,
Steve.
Dennis.
Thanks for calling. Have a nice Christmas, mate. Up the Villa.
And you. Bye-bye.
Right. I'll just show you this then, right? This is, if you can see, this is, you can't really see on there. I don't know why it's cut the top off. This is why isn't it showing the top? This is our run in January. So these are all the games in January. So we got Forest, Palace, Spurs, Everton, Fenerbahce, Newcastle, and that bottom one is the other Europa League game, the last one. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in January. So it's going to be really tough, isn't it, in the new year?
I don't see it being tough. You know why?
Oh, there you go.
Because
go on, then.
they're playing on these absolutely fantastic pitches, which don't drain your energy.
No.
You know, you go back to, you go into January and February. Well, it started November with us, where the pitch now was a quagmire. You know, and it wasn't conducive to playing the kind of football you play today. So I don't. The pitches aren't going to be a problem. So the players aren't. The legs aren't going to be sort of, I think, put under the kind of strain that we were being put under. And I think that's one of the bonuses now for teams, is that I think the other bonus as well is that, you know, they have got a good squad. Well, and I know you're going to come up. I know you're going to come. You said earlier that you're going to come up to the transfer window. Yeah.
Yes, we'll have a chat about the transfer window in a minute.
Yeah, you know, but I honestly feel that playing that number of games ain't going to go them, because I think they've got a good squad. I really do think they've got a solid squad with the players they've got there now. And I don't really see any reason why they would want to buy anyone new. Personally, that's my personal opinion.
Let's ask you this.
And I'll tell you why.
Let me just ask you this.
I'll tell you why.
When you won the league, right, you famously did it with 13 players, right?
14 players.
14 players. Sorry, I didn't get to why I said that.
Yeah.
14 players, right?
Yes.
And one of the things that's said these days is you need a big squad. And I understand there's lots of games, but you had lots of games, didn't you, when you won the league? It wasn't like, you know.
Well, we had 42 league games. Yeah, playing on the kind of pitches that we had to put up with.
Heavy pitches.
We got knocked out of the League Cup early on. We got knocked out of the FA Cup by Ipswich early on.
Yeah.
Right. So we didn't have those extra games. Ipswich were in Europe, so they were playing in Europe as well as playing. But you didn't play as many games in Europe as you do now.
No.
You know, to win a trophy in those days, like when we won the European Cup, we played 9 games. You play 17 now. Yeah.
Yes.
So twice as many games practically. So you have got a lot more games to play now, and that's why you do need a big squad, because, you know, when you're a top team, you know, like you take Man City and Arsenal and all that, and you know, when they're playing and they're doing well, you know, they're in the semi-final of the like already Man City and Arsenal could both be in the semi-finals of the League Cup, the EFL. We then go in and the top of the league, so they've got all the league games. Then they come into January, where you've got the FA Cup, but then both Arsenal and Man City should be okay. They should finish in the top half, the top 10, 8, and should get away without having to play any games in January or February, you see, or February, when it's all over. And so they get a bit of a break by not having to play that extra 2 games, which would be once they qualify. But what gets me is that, you know, you've got an opportunity then in a transfer window in January to now sit down and say to yourself, well, who do we need and what do we need? And do we need them? Now, I thought the last one in before the season started was a shambles. 2 players came in right at the very end.
Not our fault though. Through the money.
No.
Thing. Yeah.
No. Well, you brought in Elliott and Sancho.
Yeah, loans. Now,
when Elliott came into the football club, I said, well, he doesn't fit into the Villa way. And it's quite right. He doesn't fit in the way Aston Villa play. And so, you know, he's not played. So he was a bit of I don't know, at the end, to bring in 2 players like they did at the very end was I think, a little bit, might have said, a little bit upsetting to the rest of the team. Because probably the rest of the team now thought, oh, you know, we're settled. No one's going to come in now. So I might feel a bit confident. So all the way through the summer, Ollie Watkins was on the way. And yet he didn't leave. But all the way through the summer, I was reading all the time on the internet, everything, that he was going to be leaving. Now, how unsettling is that for a player? Very unsettling. But he didn't
it's
go.
the way in the world
You know?
nowadays, though, isn't it? Unfortunately, the way that the media works and
Yes.
24-hour rolling
Oh yeah,
news.
I mean the way
do think,
players, I think the way.
I'll just say this quickly then. The phone line is open. I am going to try. This is a phone in. I will try and get another phone. If you want to phone, you can phone right now, and we'll try and get you on and ask a question to Dennis. I think the Sancho thing, he has actually spoken about this week, and he said, and I think the club have come out and been quite vociferous, saying that he's got a lot of high hopes for Sancho in the second half of the season. I think he's been working a hell of a lot with him to try and, we all know Elliot's going back to Liverpool. I think that's a pretty obvious one. But I think Sancho, I do think he could spark something in him towards the end of the season.
Sancho could be and do a job. But the thing is now, is he going to now pay a fee for him or just keep him on loan?
Be on loan to the end of the season, yeah. I don't think there was a fee. I think the Elliot one was a fee, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Elliot, I should imagine. I mean, I've heard that he might be going to Everton.
Right.
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting one, though.
But well, the thing was, he probably would like to get back to Merseyside, so that came about. Because I see teams like Everton probably might need to just strengthen their squad. Going into the second half of the season. But I look at Villa, and I don't.
We've got a phone call. Sorry, mate. We've got a phone call.
Okay.
Right. Hello.
Justin. Hey, Justin. How are you doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm great.
Do you want to say hello to Dennis?
Hey, Dennis. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm okay. How are you?
My friend from Ireland.
I'm good. Can I just say an absolute honour to speak to a Villa legend on the phone. Unbelievable.
It sounds like Eamon DC. Is this? It sounds like Eamon DC. I remember Eamon. Yeah, you got the same lilt. You got the same lilt.
I tell you what, Dennis. This man can sing. If you ask him very nicely, he might sing you a little song.
He can sing.
I think Eamon. Yeah. They think I'm mad enough here. So I just have one question to ask, really, of Dennis. Is how did it was obviously a shock 9 minutes into the final when Jimmy Rimmer had to go off. I mean, how did that feel for the outfield players? I mean, did it sap your confidence or did it just drive you on?
Did you get that, Den?
I did, yeah. I mean, it's obviously one of those questions that we got asked an awful lot when we had our AV40 sort of 40th anniversary celebration, and that was one of the main questions about Jimmy and coming off after 10 minutes. I think the fact that none of us knew about it was helpful. But when he did go off, it was a big surprise to us all. But listen, you're in the final of a European Cup final. You ain't going to turn around and think, well, that's it now. We've lost our goalkeeper. And the other side to that, the other side of the coin on that one was because when you think about Nigel had not played a game last season, so putting those two things together, I think maybe the fans thought this. Probably the fans thought it was worse for them because Jimmy was coming on than it did for us players. We already knew we were in a game of football with Bayern Munich. Yeah. So, to show any kind of worry about, Jimmy going off, I suppose they might have thought to themselves, well, oh, blimmin' heck, they've lost the goalkeeper. This is our opportunity now because they would have known that Nigel had probably not played any games for us in the first team, and I wouldn't have had any idea of how good a goalkeeper he was, but we knew he was a good goalkeeper, obviously through training and everything, but he'd never played a game with us. So, having Jimmy go off was a big surprise, but as players, well, we just got to get on with it. And we've just got to get out there and keep on playing and try and get a result. And listen, it was a tough game. It wasn't an easy game, even with Jimmy going off. But I suppose really the hero that came out. Well, two heroes obviously was Nigel Spink, who had an outstanding game, simply because we'd never seen Nigel play in a game before. Most of us
had you never played with him at all?
No, never played in a game with us. Yeah. No, and then the other thing was obviously Peter scoring the winning goal. So two things, yeah. two things to remember: Nigel coming on, Peter scored, and the rest of it was a blur. Because it was a hard game to play in. And we all the way through the tournament, we were very difficult to beat. And when you look back on that game, they had the three leading goal scorers of the tournament, Bayern Munich. One was Hunes, who scored 9. The other one was Rummenigge, who scored 8. And the other one was Breitner, who scored 6. So between them, they scored all those goals, and they couldn't score one against us. Now, what does that tell you about our resilience and our defensive work? Yeah, on the night, we've gone out there and we've proved that, everything that we did, although we weren't the best team in the tournament, we came out on top because of what we were able to do on the football pitch. And what, you got to remember as well is that with Ron leaving as well, and in January before the quarterfinal, that could have easily knocked us back, but it didn't. Tony took over. That was big. That was a big help to us because we didn't bring a new manager in who might have felt that the European Cup wasn't the important thing. They might have thought that staying and getting a better position in the league and getting a qualification for Europe, was what it was all about. But so we've gone into that game. Jimmy's suffered. We didn't suffer. Nigel came on. We all got over it, and we all talk about it still. And Jimmy's very sad that that happened to him because he didn't. He always felt, if you listen to Jimmy always feels he's let us down, but Jimmy didn't let us down.
He got you there.
What Jimmy did was be honest. He was honest.
Yeah.
He came off after 10 minutes. He was honest that he couldn't do it. He felt that if he did stay on the pitch with his bad neck and none of us knew about it, what would have happened after the game if he'd have told us he had a bad neck? And he might have got a bigger bad neck, but that if they'd have scored goals and he was picking the ball out the back of the net, his neck might have got worse. So we never got to that point. So it was from our point of view, it was Jimmy. It's one of those great stories, really. Yeah, when you think about European Cup.
Isn't it? I've got a question here for you, Ben.
Yeah. Yes.
This is Ange. So if you want to say hello to Ange, one of my longest serving and most loyal followers, we love Ange very, very much. I love Ange very much. So Ange says, how long did it take you to know Gary Shaw was a bit special?
Bit special. I suppose when you've been in the game, and like myself, I was just going on 18 when I got my debut at Coventry, and at the time I had no awareness of the fact that my performances in the reserves was actually getting me to the stage where the manager was confident of playing me in the first team. Now Gary Shaw, was one of those players that, and this is one of the great things about Ron, is that he wasn't afraid to bring the young players forward. And and so Gary Shaw now comes into the first team, and he played a few games the previous season. He played in 79-80, and in 80-81, obviously he started the season, and he played, and we brought Peter with him. So I just felt we were back now, Justin, to the Andy Gray and Brian Little scenario.
Yeah.
In the 76, 77, 78, 79. I just felt great that we now had a big centre forward who was good at controlling the ball in the air. A Gary Shaw, like a Brian Little, who sat off and was capable of creating for other players as well, but a good footballer. And it was so satisfying, really, when we started the season, and everything started to come together very early on, and it was all down to the fact that Ron had brought in Peter With and he brought in Gary Shaw, and the two of them hit it off really well. But not only those two hitting it off very well, it also encapsulated the rest of the team, to work off them, and so Gary was, I think it was again from Ron's point of view, it was a tremendous well, not achievement, but tremendous courage to play a young player like him in that side. Yeah. But the other players he brought in as well, obviously we had Colin Gibson, we had Gary Gordon Cowans, we had Gary Williams, all the young players that came through, you know, were well spotted by Ron from the point of view of their ability. So the sort of the togetherness then of the younger ones and the older ones was just ideal. But Gary Shaw was he was a very special player. And I remember, you know, sort of going into that European Cup year where, you know, I just felt that Gary Shaw would become just as good a player as Kenny Dalglish.
Really?
I really did, because I just saw everything about Dalglish that Gary had as well.
Yeah, the movement.
Yeah, he added the ability to strike the ball with both feet. He was very quick. He was very sharp in front of goal. He like Dalglish. Gary had this ability to pass the ball into the back of the net.
Yes,
it wasn't always like, you know, the front of your foot blasting it in, but he had the attributes of you know he had a great understanding at that age, really, you know, of working off Peter and then working with the rest of us, and making everything link up. So it was a great spot by Ron, and to put him in there in that year. And for Gary, it was like League Championship one year, European Cup the following year. Yeah, and for Gary, you know, that should have been the start of a great England career as well. But it never
there's a few of you in that team
materialised.
that should have played for England more, isn't there?
Pardon?
There's a few of you in that team that should have played more for England.
Well,
Sid Cowans should have done. You should have done.
It is an interesting thing for fans to think about. Is that in 80-81, when we won the league, we didn't have one full international in our team.
Really?
Now, if you look at all the other teams that had won the league and also was second, if you look at Ipswich, they had a team full of internationals. If you look at Liverpool, a team full of internationals. You look at Forest, a team full of internationals. Now, we won that league without having one full international in the team. If you look at the Villa team today, it's full of international players.
Yeah,
right.
More or less every one of them.
And they're all. But we didn't have. None of our players were recognised as being good enough at the time to go and represent their international team: England, Ireland, Wales, and Scotland. It's quite an achievement, really, to have a team. I bet there's no other team ever that has gone out for the season and won a league championship like we did, where there wasn't an international player in the team. We had England B, we had England under 23, we had obviously same with Scotland under 23, but not one of us were actually played international football. Yeah.
That's a very good stat. I need to do a quiz, Dennis. I'll do a quiz and get you back, and you can answer the questions.
Yeah, no, I've got loads of questions, mate. Yeah.
Oh, you can be the quiz master then. We'll
yeah,
get
that's
two
what I mean.
teams.
Yeah,
we'll get
I can
two
be the
teams
quiz
on,
master.
then you can get a.
Listen,
quiz.
you know what I wanted to do once. I've got 50 questions all about my book, The Full Morty.
Ah.
Yeah.
Right. I have got.
So maybe that's it. So what we could probably do one time is let's have a quiz now on my book, right? But we've got to make sure people not looking at it when they do the quiz. Yeah.
Right. Who's up
because
for a quiz for Dennis?
Because there's some interesting questions that I could ask. Yeah. And it might get people reading my book again or going out and buying it.
Go and get this book for Christmas. It's not too late. I'm sure it's available in all your good local bookstores. It's a great book, to be fair. It is a great book. And I've got a special, which you did very nice for me, signed print from yourself, which was magnificent.
Oh, yes, that's one of my...
Go and get the book. Please, go and get the book. Dennis.
Yeah, but Justin, you got to remember that you don't get that little card if you buy the book from Waterstones. You only got those cards. You only got those cards if you bought it off me.
Yes.
And here's the interesting thing. I had 5 different ones as well.
What cards?
I had five different ones. Yeah. Because I even had a Coventry City.
Don't say Coventry
City. When I went
City.
over and sold a book in Coventry. Yes.
Right, you can still get them, and I'm sure you are still at the plant plot occasionally, aren't you, in Lichfield?
Yeah, the football cabin.
The football cabin at
so
the
it's the plant plot,
Lichfield.
like
Yes.
the plant plot. Yeah, but it's the football cabin with John and Phil. Yeah. So I go up there on a regular basis.
Books there, and if you look behind Dennis,
well,
there,
I don't have. I've got no books, Justin. They've all gone.
Oh, really? They've sold out.
The ones I had. Yeah.
Yes.
They've all gone. Yeah. So they'd have to get a new edition, but that's not up to me.
Right.
You know, they'd
a new edition.
A few more. What they printed, right? They're finished now. So it'd have to be, you know, sort of. People would have to sort of get in touch with the printers and ask them whether they've got any book. But I'm not going to push them about it. Yeah, it's up to them. Okay. Yeah. Right. We'll keep it as a limited. We'll keep it as a limited edition.
Limited, yeah. This is worth more money than now, Dennis. I don't want any more. We'll keep that as a limited edition. Right. I'm very aware that I've kept you for a long time, Dennis, and I'm sure your voice is hoarse nearly now. So what we'll do is, we'll try and sort something out then where we get some, we'll try and get two teams together. You can come up with your quiz, and then we will try and somehow sort out a live quiz hosted by me and the quiz master, Dennis Mortimer. How does that sound, Den?
Yeah, and I can provide a couple of things that I've got like as a prize.
Ooh, here we go. A prize as well. Okay, right. This sounds like a plan. Right. We'll call it a night there.
There you go.
Look at this here. What he's got here. I just happen to have that next to him. Look at that. He's a consummate professional. He's our Dennis on the line box.
This one is a good one as well.
Oh, that's a good one, isn't it?
That's with the Prince.
Oh yeah, I've just noticed
that was taken at the buying game.
Right, Andrew said, if I get one online, can I get it signed?
What, the book?
Yes.
The book. If he tell him if he comes to the plant plot.
Yes.
The football cabin.
The football
which
cabin.
Is in Lichfield.
How often are you there, Dan?
Listen, if he got the book there. I invariably will be there on a Thursday morning.
Right. Andrew's asked that. So Andrew said, if I get one online, so Andrew, if you can get there on a Thursday morning, if you message me, Andrew, or email me and ask me, and I can text Dennis and see if he's going to be there. And then if you get along, you can meet him, you can have a picture with him, and you can get the book signed. And he's probably, if you're lucky, sometimes he's got the European Cup with him as well.
Sometimes, yes. She's missed that one, though.
Oh, okay.
She's missed it. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Dennis, thank you very, very much for your time this evening. I really appreciate it as always. And we will get you on again, I'm sure, because it is absolutely fascinating to listen to a true Aston Villa legend, a man who has won it all, barring, I think, the FA Cup at Aston Villa. And you're just a great ambassador for the club, Dennis. You do. Everything you say, the way you talk about us, why they don't get people like you on Sky these days blows my mind. But you are welcome on here anytime you want, my friend. And hopefully in the new year, we will sort the quiz out. And then it will be the Dennis Mortimer quiz. Okay?
Good one. Anyway.
Right.
Have a happy Christmas, everyone.
Thanks, Den. Right. You stay there, Dennis, and I'll have a quick chat with you afterwards. All right. Just stay there for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Right. Just wanted to say thank you to everybody here tonight. It's been fantastic. I hope you've all enjoyed this. It's been brilliant for me. I'm very, very, very lucky. I'm aware of that I'll get to talk to Dennis quite a lot. and I can text him anytime I want, which just blows my mind, to be honest. So it's been a pleasure bringing him to you tonight. As you can see, he just loves to talk about the Villa and football. His passion is unbelievable. So we will get him on again at some point. But I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that supported me on this channel and this journey this year and these last few months. It has been very humbling, the amount of people that I talk to. I would like to say hello as well to a man called Pete. Now, Pete, my wife works at Tesco in Hensford, and Pete was talking to my wife without realising that she was married to me, which is very strange. And they got talking about the football, and he said, "Oh, I listened to a podcast on a Monday. A lad called Justin does it." And my wife said, "That's my husband." So I wanted to say hello to Pete, up the Villa, Pete, and make sure you go back in and say hello to Beck. Fantastic. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all your support. I'm just blown away. But if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, drop the video a like, and get involved in the comment section. If there are any kids around, I'm going to play something now that has got a little bit of swearing in, so I apologize for that if they are, but I think it's a very, very apt way to finish the show, and wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. I hope you all have a fantastic time with your friends and your family. Eat, drink, be merry, love everybody, and I'll speak to you all soon. Up the Villa.
Rodgers, got to be careful here because...
Right, I've got to take that off first. I always do that. Right, try again.
Rodgers, got to be careful here because Bruno won't be able to track back. Don't let him shoot. Oh, fuck off! Fuck off! Merry Christmas, you twat!